the introduction to the site selected. So the site selected is Kampung Brunei. It's actually I have a house there. It's my hometown.
You have a house.
She's from
Brunei. You have a house.
My grandparents.
Tu jangan baik-baik nanti siapa dah tahu tu. You have a house yang saya pun dah dekat 20 tahun kerja baru dapat rumah saya sendiri. You apa dia kata?
Okay, so from my side, it's located in the Bahriyah district in the interior division of South. It's located somewhere here. I'd say quite near to Brunei. But the reason it's called Kampung Brunei is because of the people there. They are mostly, I think it's majorly consists of Melayu Brunei. And most of them Melayu Brunei. And then the reason I choose this site is because from the land use, most of the areas are used for agriculture. As the main economy, the activity of the locals are agriculture. Because of palm oil, the ones that I can observe. Palm oil, the locals also have their own personal orchards and vegetables. For the vegetables, I think what makes this site unique is that the vegetables are like the traditional ones, the herbs that only even the name of the plants are it's the Melayu Brunei ethnobotanical.
Nama je lain dari pokok sama lah.
I would say
okay, jadi juga ada yang special
Gadis yang special lah.
Okay, so ethnobotany lah ni.
but I focus more on the agriculture resilience because from the issue, what I have observed on the site is firstly the main issue is the flooding issue because there's a water body here. It often occurs like overflow of the water from the Sungai Membakut. So the first issue is including climate change, but it's not only flooding because for agriculture there can be issue of like water scarcity, the lack of water for the irrigation system. And the second issue is the inefficient land use. This one I can observe when I went to the site visit. I can see there are a lot of underutilized idle lands. But I think this issue can be turned into like opportunities to use the idle lands for more agricultural development of for the locals. And the last issue is loss of traditional agricultural knowledge. Even though my research is focused on agricultural resilience, like making the agriculture site have the ability to adapt and recover from the climatic shocks, environmental threats. But I also want to focus on the loss of the traditional agricultural knowledge that is being practiced by the locals. So for my research goal, it is to integrate agricultural resilience strategies in a rural landscape with while relating to the traditional farm practice, because I think the traditional farm practices should not go to waste, because even though now they are like modern technologies, I think for rural landscape, traditional agricultural knowledge like contribute to the rural identity of the village. For the objectives, increase the water management strategies, improving the water management for especially flooding and ensuring reliable water resources during periods of drought. And then second is optimizing the land use for sustainable farming development or agricultural development. Lastly is to incorporate traditional agricultural knowledge into modern farming practices.
Tiga-tiga dia tu very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Dia macam ida you PhD.
Oh, interesting.
For the research questions, the first one is how can agriculture landscape adapt and recover from several climatic shocks? The second question will be what are the needs of the users that can be provided on the underutilized lands? And the last one is what are the traditional agricultural knowledge practiced by the locals? For the scope of study, the first one is of course the climate and environmental factors. I have to understand first what causes the flooding, lack of water. And then second is policy and governance to understand better the policies, the regulations that affect the rural agriculture, especially in Kampung Membakut and Kampung Brunei Membakut. And lastly the farm practices, because I want for the third objective I want to like incorporate the traditional agricultural knowledge to modern farming techniques. For the significance of study, why I this research study is essential or significant, because I think by doing this study, it can ensure a sustainable and stable future for the rural communities, because especially for this site, the main activity is agriculture. So if agriculture activities is resilient, so it can ensure a sustainable and stable future for the rural communities and generate more income for the locals. And it also, by studying agricultural resilience, also improve the disaster preparedness in a rural village. And then moving on to my literature review, I've read articles about the adaptation strategies, but most of it focus on the climate change. So they are like, the first one, they have strategies of solving the problem, which is by controlling pattern of rainfall, sunshine or moisture level. But other than solving the problem, they are also like shielding strategies, which is by protecting the crops from excessive rainfall and sunshine. And there are also defensive approach, is like planting more high tolerance plants or like resilient plants and also improving crop varieties. And the last one, there's also alternative approach, which is for the locals to like improvise their farming practices by reducing the timing or changing the crop cycle. I also studied some about the traditional agricultural knowledge. I found about the Karasan Dusun people, where they practice the shifting cultivation for hill rice. Also the way they plant cover crops such as sweet potatoes. And then lastly, how they do the crop selection, which is depending on the suitability of the land or the soil condition. There are also about Jagun people, which they focus on the symbiotic relationship of corn and spinach, but I haven't read much about that yet. Also, they improve the soil health using their own made compost. And lastly, how they
Punya projek.
do the plant health check before harvesting.
Bukan.
Under Dr. Jana. For reference study, I couldn't really find like places that obviously mention about agriculture resilience, but I found two like programs. This one is done from 2017 until 2021, which is in Mozambique. The program helped the farmers to reduce their exposure to climate change through water management, agricultural practices and tools, alternative livelihoods, access to energy and community building. Apart from that, I found another one, which is in South Kivu. This one focuses more on the resilience design, which is the water harvesting structures. They improve the crop varieties. They also propose multi-purpose tree plantation, and lastly, they improve the soil health. And then for the anticipated findings, this one is related to the objectives, which the first objective is to improve the water management. Here I focus for two, flood and drought. For flood issues, it calls for the need of improving the drainage system, doing land grading and erosion control. Meanwhile, for drought, the key elements is to propose proper drip irrigation, rainwater harvesting, or even reservoirs or ponds for water storage. And then they're also optimizing land use for agriculture, because in this site there are a lot of like opportunities to develop the agriculture, such as the idle land can be proposed as seed bank or water management tool similar to this one. And lastly, the traditional knowledge into modern technique, which is like I found that the locals like most commonly use the crop rotation or intercropping. So I think this traditional knowledge can be incorporated with modern techniques. That's all for me.
Okay, before you just imagine. Can you imagine? Imagine what will the final product look like in your final product? Nah, from your dari pandangan sekarang ni, jangan tengok. From your literature review yang you baca sekarang ni, you tengok yang problem tu, what is it that you want to show at the end tu? Apa benda you boleh tunjuk? Obviously tidak ada place making lah kan? Kan? Okay, tapi tak apa, it doesn't matter. Apa benda yang you akan tunjuk nanti? Kami nak bagi A nanti besok ni.
Just like the design guidelines for
Okay, lagi?
agriculture. And maybe
Guidelines okay, tapi lagi apa? In terms of presentation ke, in terms of drawing ke, what is it, what can you show?
maybe like the drainage system, irrigation plan.
Okay. You dah tengok dia contoh tak drawing? Something this one, yeah.
I've seen like more to ecological, like how they do the like building the different in elevation, the cut and fill. That's all I've seen. on the
Saya
exam.
berhenti dulu tu. Maybe apa tu? I quite like yang apa ni. Dia punya you
Actually,
buat.
the one apa yang you buat ni semua memang dah ada dah PhD student saya yang pernah kita set lagi lah. My PhD student doing this. Cuma